and I've made no announcement that this is happening. So that's what I'm going to do first. Yeah, I'm catching up. I'm a little bit behind. It's the first stream we've had for a couple of weeks. So give me a second to set things up. I'm running a bit late for hopefully obvious reasons by now. Right, what do I need to do? I need to post some links first. Let me go and grab a link to this thing. There we go. CodeZone now. That's the first thing I need to post, isn't it? Somewhere in Content Creators. Let's do that. So CodeZone now. There we go. I'll also spam that in Simply Chat as well, just to get a few people to turn up. Right, well, I mean, it's been 2 weeks, hasn't it? And I've been very, very busy. In fact, my life has changed in the last 2 weeks fairly significantly. Thank you to all of the well wishers. I know some of you will watch this on the VOD later. It's much appreciated. Christoph is here, running a bit late today. Apologies for that. I am exhausted. I never got into Stargate 1. I mean, I'm a big sci-fi fan, but I couldn't click with it. I did try. And one of the things I've already forgotten today is actually what any of the code does. So there'll be a bit of reorientation. I've been playing about with the resolution a bit as well to try and fill the screen up, and we'll just take it from there. I thought tonight that one of the things I might try and add is ship behaviour, or at least start thinking about what we want the ships to do, particularly navigating between planets. Let me just move the window out the way there. So I thought it'd be good. We did get as far, and I'll have to remind myself where we got to. I think we got as far as being able to specify a satellite. So if we specify 2 satellites, and then I think, did I press a key that allowed me to click somewhere else? Okay, I clicked on the wrong thing. There we are. And we kind of wanted to have the ships sort of auto-navigate between the objects. And we discussed in an earlier video a problem that we're going to start having, and that is that the objects are all going to be sort of constantly chasing each other all the time. And I want to sort of overcome that by having an area of, in Elite, they call it mass locking. So given a particular object in space that could be a target for the ship to go to, once we get within a certain range of that object, then all of the craft's motions become relative to that object. So we suddenly forget about any kind of orbit mechanics. I think that's going to be quite necessary in order to make this sensible. Have a look at some of the chats. Not a huge number of viewers tonight, but that's to be expected. TGD, thank you very much. Has returned. Yes, I've had to have a 2-week break. Probably you all know why. I've never played Kerbal Space Program. I'm guessing that all space games have to have some sort of similar mechanism just to make it work. Standard in, hello. Because it becomes very frustrating otherwise. Because if we had a ship coming in, I don't know if you can see my mouse cursor. Yes, you can. So if we had a ship coming in, it would be constantly trying to sort of circle and oscillate and all sorts to get to the space station. So within a certain radius of influence, we'll enter this. We'll come up with some fancy sci-fi name for it, but something like synchronized lock, where the ship is automatically then always going to be. It basically becomes like full-on Cartesian, centered around the origin of the spaceship. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Search for sound synthesizer. Had to find. Also, right when I got a notification. Oh, well, good. Thank you, James. Sleeping Insomniac, hello. How you feel at the moment? Sleeping? I've not done that for a while now. Yes, Alex, sorry, if you were streaming Crash 4, yes, you are going to have to stop streaming Crash 4. So, partly today, one is I need to get back into the swing of things. I've taken 2 weeks out, and I'm very, very tired. And if we get interrupted tonight, that's one of the things. From now on, some of these streams may be cut short. And I can't remember where we really got up to. I know we were doing some GUI stuff. And the GUI stuff, we didn't link the button to actually doing anything. Oh, I did, but since then I've been playing with it. To see what goes on in the background. So I've had a few hours now and then to sort of tinker with things and work on a couple of other little projects I want to do for some videos as well. Right. So it's either a case of, do we start thinking about the ships as entities? Maybe that's what we need. I need to go and refresh myself with what these lines are and how these links work and all that sort of thing. So let's go and have a look at some code. Thank you, Shotgun Seat, and the Rob Watling. Thank you. Yes, it's all been quite overwhelming. I know there's a few mums and dads in the audience, and they'll fully understand. And now I have a complete new appreciation for it. It's non-stop. I'm a little bit tired, a little bit slow tonight, but I thought, I'm going to have a bit of a break, reward myself with an hour of streaming. Right, I need to zoom in, don't I? Because you guys can't see any of that, I'm sure. And I can't remember where we got up to. So we're not doing GUI today. I'm going to leave GUI alone for the time being. I think what we want to look at, though, is the main file and start trying to understand where we're up to. Because how was I placing these links that formed the routes? I need to even remember how to do that. There's all that GUI stuff. We're not interested in GUI stuff. Where have we got? Links. Be down here. It's funny how when you spend 2 weeks away from a project, just how quickly it can leave your mind. I mean, I'm not worried about that. I often sort of leave projects for a couple of months and then come back to them. And it takes me an afternoon or so to get back up to speed with where it was up to. Right, so I want to... There we are, render routes. So there's something that's route related. So let's get stuck in with that. So we had a system which was render routes. That's going to be difficult to say for me. Render routes. Render asteroids, render routes. So the routes were a route stage. Looks like something important that we're going to need. That was a component we were adding onto the entity, which consists of just a start and an end point, and those components were positions in space. Okay. And we're drawing the decal between them. In fact, that's the first thing I'll do, because we're not drawing those lines all the time. And I think that's quite important that we do try and draw those lines all the time, because it gets a bit confusing when you're trying to select things and you can't really see what's already linked up. Yeah, it's a nice little GUI theme. It's customizable too. Thank you, Alta. I've been very good, thank you. I'm quite tired. Megarev's here. Hello. Nanoic 1. Hello. Wonder what happened to Nanoic 0. Yes, so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to go back to the main class, and I think for all of the rendering states, we want to render the routes. I don't want them to sort of be selective anymore. I'm just going to stick that in there. I've got a random lol there, and I don't know why. I'm also quite hay fevery today. In the UK, at least, it's been quite stifling for the last couple of days. Very, very still air. There's lots of pollen about, so I've got a little bit of a blocked up nose. But also being run down and tired at the same time isn't exactly helping. So we'll put a render routes there. Render routes. Everything. Every time we're going to render all the routes. I'm also going to choose to render all of the asteroids as well, because they were disappearing at a certain state. So we'll get those as well. And we'll render. So it looks like we're getting a common sort of set of standard renderings here. I don't mind the duplication in this instance, simply because each state is unique and it gives us that flexibility to change these things later on. So I'm going to keep it a little bit repetitive. Yeah, I like that. Speedy, hello. Yes, long time no see, Speedy. It must be Friday. Time for another CodeZone. I have no idea what day it is. What day is it? It's. Why doesn't this tell me what day it is? I'm assuming it's Tuesday. Oh, it is. There we are. It's Tuesday. It's lit up. It's Tuesday. Right. It's Monday, June the 2nd, 2026. Wow, it has been a long few days then, hasn't it? Right, I might just sort of disable the GUI, because that's going to be a little bit annoying as it pops up. So now we've got asteroids all the time, and we put some lodding on the asteroids as well, didn't we? So that they're not sort of overwhelming for the rendering system. Let's go and find a planet, and we'll already start sticking some space stations in there. And we've got a moon there, so we'll give that a space station or 2 as well. So what we should have just changed now is if I press the R key, basically everything should always be lit up now. Yeah, so that's a bit easier to place the routes. It would be nice to actually have it sort of showing where the route is going to go whilst we're trying to place it. Because the idea, I think, is we'll attach ships to routes, and the ship will then go along each route stage. Now, to begin with, as we're just starting to tinker with the ships, we'll just have it doing a single stage, just going backwards and forwards under its own steam. Because eventually the ships themselves are going to have sort of properties and things we're going to want to set, sort of how fast they can do things, and their onboard cargo capacity, that kind of thing. But that seems a bit easier to set those. I might dial back the resolution. It's a quite big resolution at the moment, or at least I can dial back the size of the icons, S and M things. Let's just move that out of the way. So yes, now if we select that one, we should be able to patch that up. So we've got a loop. Now, things like loops, I don't really know how the system's going to handle those either yet. So I think what we'll try and do today is associate an object with a single stage between a couple of things. Is there a max radius you can place the satellite? No, there isn't. I mean, there should be, probably. But right now, no, you can go in space, put one on the other side of the solar system if we want. There we go. In fact, we've reached the fringe of space there. There it is. Satellite whizzing around quite happily. And I also made it that you could basically select anything which is considered to be an orbital as a destination for routes. That might not be a clever idea because I don't yet fully understand what it means to have something that can... oh, hang on. Oh, I want to enter that mode. Back out of that mode for a second. If I press the R key and then select this planet, for example, see we've created now a route between that space station and this planet. Now, that's the entity component system doing its thing, right? So anything that's considered orbital is considered routable. Now, is that useful for what we want to do with the game? I don't know. Undecided yet. It might be like a very expensive route to launch something from a planet all the time. What's the overall concept of this space thing? Well, we're kind of just sort of developing it as we go, really. That's half the fun of this this stream series. It's gravitating towards kind of like an Anno in space kind of thing, SimCity in space. I like the idea of doing space logistics and finding resources and mining them and that sort of thing. Well, right now I'm just having fun sort of tinkering with different systems. See, I can't select asteroids, so some of the things... I mean, I could specify that these become somehow selectable, but I don't really want the player having to sort of target individual asteroids for things. Maybe we do. Maybe we've got to send a ship out that can scan particular asteroids for different mineral content, and we'll look at how we can statistically distribute asteroids sort of spatially, so those that are close together have similar content. There's all sorts of things that we want to play with at that level. But how does the player then go and interact with the asteroids? I think asteroids are going to be an important source of materials, but maybe they're not sort of a never-ending source of materials. I don't know. We need a space nerd. If we took all of the volume of the asteroid belt, is the volume of rock and stuff in the asteroid belt greater than the volume of all of the planets within a solar system? I don't know. Don't know the answer to that. I wanted to ask, how did you anti-alias the circles? Do we have some circles? Where do we have some circles? These circles? That sort of thing? This is just a posh decal. Nothing that clever, really. The mass of the objects of the asteroid belt lying between Mars and Jupiter is estimated to be in the range of about 4%. Really? So it's absolutely nothing at all. Right, well that's interesting, because I was thinking that might form like an early game sort of resource. Because when the players sort of land, my plan is that the players sort of they end up in a solar system. The ship has malfunctioned. They've transported across the universe. They just end up in a solar system, and you have to survive for as long as possible. And I was wondering if things like the asteroid field become sort of an early game set of resources, because actually going down to planets and deploying on planets and setting up planetary operations is considerably more expensive and time consuming to do. And planets may have owners, for example. Well, that's it, B-Rat. We don't know. These are the sort of things that we'll probably have to tweak and tune and balance and that kind of thing. Rocky planets formed from, and the belt is left over. It's good that we've got some space nerds in the chat, particularly when we're doing a space-based thing. Solar system formation isn't well understood. Well, we've kind of proven that with this program, haven't we? All our orbits are circular. Right, so given we've got a root stage, we kind of want to attach something to a root stage. And this is sort of all unknown territory now. So how am I going to actually do this as an experiment? I think we want to be able to specify a root stage manually, and then we'll try and selecting the root stage is quite difficult. It'd be easier to select a planet and then select routes that are attached to that orbital thing, than actually clicking on the line and hoping that we can somehow detect that. That's quite a challenging thing, particularly for tonight, to work out. I mean, it is and it isn't. But I'm not doing that tonight. Brain's not in maths mode tonight. So I think what we'll do is specify a route, and then we will make sure that we only manually specify one route between two things, and then try and attach a ship that will follow the singular route from that object around. And we'll try and see what those ships' behaviour is. And then we'll worry about how we can do this sort of mass synchronization thing as well. It did occur to me that at some point in the future you might want to sort of predict the direction the ship should travel in order to dock with the target that it's expecting to hit. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to send the ship out on a linear trajectory towards the target all the time. And from there, it should always be self-correcting to get to where it needs to go. It might not take the most optimal route to get there, but at least it will get there. Dangerous Tuber, would there be laser animation? Yeah, probably. I don't want it to just be a bunch of icons moving around. I do actually want the graphics to be somewhat pleasant, and particularly high definition too. So yeah, we can we'll later on work out doing animation and fancy things like that. That's all very much the end stage. Get a balanced game up and running first is really the objective, and just start playing with these systems, because I'm learning some new technologies as well as I'm doing this. Space thing, yes. That's it. It's the best way to describe it. It's a space thing. But it's also a vehicle for me to experiment with sort of different things. And one of the things I wanted to experiment with was we've got an entity component system up and running. Got the GUI PegX up and running. It's doing its thing. We do need to do some tweaking to that as well, but I might do the tweaking for that offline. It's not currently wired up. Well, it is actually. The camera position, for example, is wired up. And these menus, they're just dummy menus that don't do anything at the moment. Creepy YT. First time catching one of my streams. Thank you very much. How are you doing? I'm very, very tired. Thank you. I've had a busy couple of weeks. I wonder if there's a market for really slow space games. Well, when I was in college, over 20 years ago, there used to be sort of browser-based space games which were somewhat real-time. Exactly. So they were all just HTML forms sent to some basic service. You were basically playing a database of some description. What were they called? I think like one was called Planetarian or something like that. And the idea was you would build up armadas and forge alliances and build up bases. It's all just numbers and things in a web browser. But I remember the whole college becoming infected by playing that. So I think there's definitely a demand for slow space games. It's a bit difficult to do the simulation offline. So ideally, you'd want it so if you closed it for a day, you'd still get a day's worth of simulation happening in the background. That's not an easy thing to do, particularly when the simulation starts to get big and complex, because what you don't want to do is start the game up and then it says waiting, we're simulating the last 24 hours, and it's just running as fast as it possibly can, because hopefully it's going to be running as fast as it possibly can anyway. So we don't actually have anything that represents a ship yet. It's not something we've started on. What have we got in terms of components? So, sorry, my cough hasn't gone away either. We have space stations. Now, I think we should probably do it the same way, that the ships should be an entity that exists, but they're basically nothing but a placeholder to a more complicated object-oriented structure that tells us what the ship is and how it functions and how to update it. Because I can't really see a benefit to having the ship broken up into components of its own. It will have some of these components to make it usable in our world. So, for example, it will have a position and it will be selectable. It won't be orbital. It may have a size, which will be quite small, and it'll have its own appearance thing. So maybe we start adding some of these things in too. Let's start by just creating a spaceship. And I think we'll do something similar. We're just going to create a pool of these offline. Planetarian is still running. Is it still running? Really? Wow, I bet it's modified. I mean, this was like pre-anything that was online and massive. Solution, just never sleep. I'm trying that at the moment. But it's not going that well. Apostolisk, hello, how are you doing? Good to see you all again. Nullbiter, hello, you missed the start of the stream. That's okay, we're having a fairly chilled, lazy stream today, just whilst I'm getting back into the swing of things. And thank you very much, yes. So yeah, if you haven't guessed already, obviously JavidX10 has arrived in the last couple of weeks and is totally burning me and Mrs. JavidX9 out. But I've had a little afternoon to myself and they've allowed me, pending no emergencies, that I can come up here and play with you guys for an hour. Thanks, Apostolisk. So, spaceships. I'm not going to create graphics and things for them just yet. I'm just going to have them as an ID in our space, and we'll draw them as a circle or something whilst we're understanding what's going on. So let's go to, we need to somehow create a spaceship, and then we're going to have to attach it to a root. Now, one of the things I've found that the entity component system kind of struggles with is, well, sort of there are many instances where I want to attach multiple components of the same component to a particular entity, which obviously means I'm designing it wrong. I'm not doing it right. That's why I'm sort of resorting to, well, we have an ID which then dips into a larger, more complex pool of objects. Because spaceships are fine. We're going to have hundreds, if not several hundred, spaceships floating around the universe at the end of it. Treating them as entities is quite useful. But is it the case that we allow the object-oriented system to take full control of the spaceship? Or do we have sort of an AI component or a navigator component which automatically tries to navigate a particular route? And these are sort of design strategies I kind of want to explore. It looks like it's still updated. I can't believe that's still going. I remember everybody playing that. I could sleep on stream, could I? I don't think I'll be doing that. I do apologise for the cough. I'm just beaten up at the moment. Right, so yes, maybe it is the case that we want something that can automatically travel along a route, and that would be some sort of auto navigation component. And then we'd have a system which would take anything that auto navigates and potentially follows that route. Maybe that's the route we should go down now. Why not? Right? Let's try and use the ECS system to do the things it should do. So let's have autopilot, an autopilot component. And the autopilot component, you see, I'd quite like that to be attached to, where's it gone? A route stage. But it doesn't work like that. I mean, I could specify a link to the entity which is a route stage as part of my autopilot, but I just feel that I'm slowly creating sort of a spaghetti entity component system. Ask if just got here. Yes. She has arrived. Yes. Can you not tell? Do I not look slightly exhausted on stream? So, I mean, I've not built a complicated entity component system before. I don't know what the end result should look like. So I instinctively here, what I want to do is place an entity link to the autopilot, which becomes this route stage. But you see, I don't know if that's a good design principle or not. Yeah, unsure. Because then it makes me think, well, why don't I then, instead of having this ID, why am I not just storing more links to other things? So, for example, here, should I, instead of creating a route stage, or should a route stage exist alongside something called a start node and an end node, as components for the entities? At what point do you just keep breaking it down? I don't think you want particularly hundreds and hundreds of components. That's going to become quite unmanageable. But is it a sensible design strategy to start sort of grouping entities as part of the components? I don't know. I think there's some discussion there to be had on the Discord server about how these things should be done. I think so far we've been doing okay. Things have been working quite well. But it just feels to me that this is not the intended pattern for an entity component system. This, to me, looks like we're just creating an object-oriented system in an entity component system. So maybe something that's food for thought. Food for thought. How are we doing? Oh, we've got some viewers at last. That's good. Good. I'm just going to open up the CodeZone chat on the Discord just to make sure. Okay, nobody's chatting in there. That's all right then. Good. So I think the spaceship itself, yeah, I still like the idea of pooling that, because that's something that we can easily serialize to disk or whatever. It just handles its own thing. But the way it behaves, because I might want spaceships to have this autopilot facility, and I might want other things to have this autopilot facility. Things like the autopilot could be tutorial routes, or what if you wanted to? Here's a thing. What if we wanted to highlight a particular route that a ship is taking? We could easily have the route stage lines drawn, but it might be nice to have some sort of pingers that sort of follow that round to show you the direction of the route. Well, those pingers could effectively be autopiloted entities that follow this route stage just at a particularly high speed. It's the sort of thing. Now, that's why I kind of understand what an entity component system should be doing, but breaking up the design is quite a challenge. So let's go and create a function that can create a ship. Let's start from there at least. So I've got my loaders. Well, we need to go to main first, don't we? Main, and where we've got our create. There we are. Create stuff. So I'm going to create a spaceship. And at the moment, it's not really going to do anything. We may have to play with some of the arguments on that. It's going to just create spaceship, because we'll have to sort of manually tie it to root, because you'll have a fleet, and where you distribute that fleet is entirely up to you. TJ Smooth. Oh, thank you very much. The Twitch streams are very different to the YouTube videos. But a lot more chaotic. Right, so let's go and create that function and try and remind ourselves how we actually create objects at all. Because it has been 2 weeks since we looked at this. That was it. So we called the ECS create function. Now ECS is the ent object in my game engine. We'll call that ship. But then we need to attach the things to it that make it a spaceship. Now, what are the things that we can attach? Is it selectable? Well, I'm going to have to say yes, it is kind of selectable. I want the ships to be selectable. So we'll bang in that component. Does it have a size? Well, sphere, rather confusingly, is sort of the name for size of things in my world here. So it does. We'll have to make it very small. It also, this was a mass, wasn't it? I'll have to have a look at what. One of the problems with this this setup is you can't rely on the IntelliSense to tell you what the arguments are. If you can't remember the system you've set up, then it's you're done. So if I go to my sphere, so it's radius followed by mass, and that's the best you've got. You've got to do things in the same order as the structure. Well, you could create the structure itself and pass that in, but it tries to auto-initialize in a sensible way. It is convenient, but at the same time, you have to sort of remember everything. Let's go back to the loaders. So the ships are going to be very small, comparative, and we've also not got Z sorting of selectables yet. So it's not necessarily possible to select a ship if it's on top of something else that's selectable. Do you do online one-on-one lessons? I do not. Sorry, Chris Audio, no. Thank you for thinking that might be something you want to do, but no, I don't. I work full-time during the day. I'm now a dad, and during the evening I run a YouTube channel and look after little people. So no time really to do one-on-one stuff. How big should we make the ship? I have no idea. But I'm not going to specify 0, I'm going to specify 1, because ships are going to be quite small. Shard3482. Just dropping in to say thanks for all of your content. Really enjoying the NES emulator series. Do you do embedded engineering by any chance? Yes, I do. That's what I do for a living. I design robots. Design robots for nuclear, aerospace, oil and gas, heavy logistics, freight, that sort of thing. Anywhere where you don't want people to go. Right, now our ships, they're selectable, they have a size, they also need a position, don't they? So this is going to be the Cartesian position in space. Slowly all coming back to me now as we start doing these things. Oh, we've had a raid. Code It Live is raiding with Party of 27. Is this our first ever raid, I think? Presumably that false on selectable should be true. Is it selectable? That's the default state of the selectable flag. So yeah, it's a bit confusing, Shad. By virtue of actually having the component selectable, is not the same as saying whether it has a selected here or not. So we're attaching this component to the entity. And we're defaulting its current state. So my selectables are either true or false, and we use that later on in the engine to say whether it is selected or not. And that's probably what we'll need to alter to sort out the Z sorting later. Oil and gas is the polar opposite of the nuclear industry. Oh, thank you very much, Shad. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, got some people are familiar with these industries. Oil and gas is it's very, very fast. It's filthy. It's got money oozing out of absolutely every pore, but it's also completely unpredictable. It's entirely based upon the cost of a barrel of oil. Absolutely everything is, and because that goes up and down, you find that within a month you've got loads of customers, and then you've got no customers the month after. Nuclear, on the other hand, is incredibly stable but really slow. because everything's so safe and so secure, and everything has to be double checked and triple checked and proceduralized and processed and all sorts of things. But those projects tend to go on for years rather than just months. We now need to add actually our ship component, don't we? So where did we have that? So we had our spaceship, that was it, just spaceship, and that has a size ID. I'm just going to specify a 0 for that. We'll probably try and pull that out of something later on. And, well, maybe the ships are also the time to start experimenting with adding and removing components in real time. So if it's got an autopilot component added to the entity, then it's behaving under autopilot. We'll have to see. Right. Oh, we've never had a raid before, not that I'm aware of. I mean, everything goes ping and pong on here, and I've no idea what any of it means. I keep getting this thing telling me that I can use animated emojis or something. I don't know. You went to medical. No, we've not really done much medical stuff. Fundamentally, the industry I'm involved in is kind of ultrasonic stuff, so we have some ties into medical, but it's a different industry. Technology is the same, but very, very different industry. Right, autopilot. Yeah, so we want to add a spaceship component and an autopilot component. Maybe we'll add one for now. So let's go back to our loader. And we want to add in a spaceship component. So this is the thing that actually defines it is a spaceship. Ship, and we're just going to give it an ID. At the moment, we'll default that to 0. So that could be something. Where did we do something similar? Space stations. So here we took the size of our space station vector as the ID, and that's kind of what I think we'll do something similar for the ships too. It depends how we go about constructing the ships. One thing I want to try and avoid is lots and lots of feature creep. So I'm thinking we'll just have fixed ship models. There was some talk in earlier episodes that we can sit and design ships. That might not be that difficult to engineer in later on if we run out of things to do. But I want to start trying to close some of these branches that we're opening up now and start turning it into something we can play with. So we've added the spaceship. What did I say was the other thing? So autopilot. So maybe one of the things we should create whilst we're creating our spaceship is actually assigning it to a route straight up. So as soon as we create a route, we're going to create a spaceship straight after. This is how we're going to test this. It's not how the game's going to function, but it's how we'll test it. And the first thing we'll do is assign it a particular route stage. It'll be the one that's just been created. So I just want to see the ships sort of ping pong between these two locations. Route stage. So we'll need to pass that in as an argument too. There we go. Now, some of you might be excited to learn that even though I have been quite busy, I have been working on a video, which hopefully I'll be filming it next weekend, I hope. We'll have to see how these things go. So the plan is that this little video is coming out. It's going to be a bit of a celebration of a few things on the channel. And then I want to carry on with the networking series. Get the next part of that out. Will probably be the next video after that. Because ultimately, the networking series, let me just mention that, so I know there's some YouTube watchers here. That has obviously slowed down. It's mainly because if I do a long series with 5 or 6 episodes, by the time I get to episode 6, nobody's watching. And it's demoralizing to do a video which you know nobody's going to watch. But what I've found, particularly with the NES series, is if I pace them a little bit more, people do tend to watch them. As a one-off, and if I can frame the video in such a way which is interesting, it's got its own legs it can stand on, people will watch that too, and that's a bit more interesting for me to do. I saw that with the NES series. By the time we got to episode 7, only the hardcore that have followed it through are interested in seeing what's going on there. Maybe slightly different topic. Celebrating what? Celebrating good times. Well, yeah, it has been good times, tiring times. Right, so we do want to create an autopilot thing on here, and we're going to pass in the link to the route stage. autopilot. There we go. Oh, what just happened? I can't pronounce that. It's got pi in it. Good. Passing this root stage. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to create a test scenario. This isn't necessarily how the game's going to pan out. So when we create the root in our state machine later, we'll also instantly create a new spaceship. And then once we've created the spaceship, we'll automatically and instantly assign it to the root that's just been created. And we're going to try and update then anything with an autopilot to just basically go between the root stages. Now, I don't know how it knows when it gets there or what it does or how it turns around, that sort of thing. Audio episode still missing from the NES stuff. Yeah, I guess there's the NES one. The trouble is, the audio episode that's missing is probably like the least interesting thing to do on the NES. It's the triangle wave, which fine. It's very similar to the pulse wave stuff. And there's the noise channel. I can't remember if we implemented the noise channel, but I mean it's the noise channel. That's not difficult to implement. There's also the PCM channel, which is a little bit more complicated. Now that one might be worthy of a video in its own right at some point in the future, but I'll be honest, it's unlikely if I'll get that far, because I've not done that myself on the NES stuff. It's been over a year since I looked at some of the NES stuff now, and unfortunately the NES, that project almost killed me. So I'm definitely having some time off. I'd like to factor in the GUI. I know there's a few people have joined since. Maybe you've not seen this. We'll just see if this compiles. And I know people are watching will know straight away of the GUI framework that I've been making. Oh, hang on. Template doom has happened here. This is the only downside with this Ent stuff, is you do not get friendly error messages. So it's complaining that... Let's go and find. Firstly, let's find a file where it doesn't like that line. So that's the line thing. So it's complaining that this 0 here should be a size T, and it can't deduce that it should be a size T. I'm finding that, on the whole, to be quite a frustrating thing with modern C++. There we go. See, successfully squashed. I mean, when you start looking at template errors as much as I do, you do tend to start sort of seeing what the problem is. I know that they're a bit overwhelming, and sometimes they can be absolutely horrific. The compiler does a reasonable job of telling you what the problem is. You've just got to digest them and get used to them. Yeah, there's quite a few namespaces. Are you still planning on adding a raycaster to the network? Yeah, so sorry, that's where I was going with this, because the reason I wanted to get the networking stuff up and running. So the next episode we're going to look at shooting. Now, we did some trials on the Discord server, and as predicted, and I filmed it to use as part of the video story, everybody cheated. So the video after that needs to be about how do we actually go about implementing some anti-cheat strategies. So everybody was hacking memory and doing all sorts of nasty tricks, and it was very entertaining, it was very rewarding. The system didn't crash, which from my perspective was nice, but of course it's completely unusable. Right? If everybody can cheat very easily, no good to anybody. So I want to put in an episode which is about how do we look for these cheating strategies and what can we do to mitigate them. And then we're going to take the Raycast World engine and attach that. So those of you familiar with Raycast World may have noticed there's a lot of similarity between the data structures I'm using in the networking series and in the Raycast World engine. That's not a coincidence. It should be very easy to actually just stick Raycast World in and glue it together. And Danderstein, who's usually watching these streams, I think he's probably still in work at the moment, Danderstein has created a level editor for Raycast World, so I'm hoping we'll pull in the levels and create some community levels and have people shooting each other in those. When I was programming with GCC as the main compiler, I used Clang to get better error messages. Yeah, the Visual Studio error messages, they are a bit of a mouthful. I'm indifferent. I'm not a compiler fanboy one way or the other. I don't like compilers that go, hey, you might think about doing it this way. That's not the future for me. Good. Danderstein, you are here. Okay, good. Yeah, just reassuring the audience and you that we've not given up on that project. That's definitely going to happen. But I'm pacing them out quite intentionally throughout the year, because this year, knowing that I'm going to be busy, one of the things I didn't want to do was some massive project with a 6 or 7 part series. And so I've got a folder full of lots of little one-off projects, which is exactly how the channel was founded, and they make great sort of filling episodes which people can enjoy on their own. They don't need to have seen the 3 previous episodes in order to take advantage of it. Good for you, Magetsu. Well, ultimately, Creepy, the only sensible way to make it work is that you cannot do anything client-side. Client-side can purely be cosmetic, and that's it. Everything else has to be server-side. And that's okay. That's kind of understandable. And in simple applications like the one I'm creating, that's fine. The server's got more than enough power to deal with that. And we can use the client to sort of paste over some of the cosmetic cracks that will happen as a result of that relationship. But as soon as the server's in complete control, you can hack the memory as much as you like. It doesn't make any difference. Right, so we've added an autopilot to the ship. Let's hang on. Which server-side stuff do you have to implement to a bunch of prediction stuff, which is complicated, right? Yeah, it's not as complicated as you might think, particularly with the demonstration application I'm creating. So I make some assumptions. I don't want to get too bogged down into the networking series, but one of the things is that shots are instantaneous, which does go a long way to making life a bit simpler. Because it's fairly easy to actually predict where the clients are going to be. The only knowledge that we've got is that they are moving linearly, and that's the only assumption we can make. So you can sort of predict into the future where the client may be when it's in line to be hit by a bullet. And so it's no coincidence that we've done things like DDA raycasting and that sort of thing, because of course that's how I'm going to handle the bullets and trajectories in the game. Dragoneye, hello! Hang on, I've got a ping on the old Discord. What's going on here? This is from Robert Hirschkel on the Discord. Congrats for the new release and all best to the cloning chamber. Yes, the cloning chamber is doing fine. They're taking a rest. Right. Anyway, back to Space Thing. So we've now added an autopilot. So we want to create a system to handle things that are autopiloted. Right, okay, let's try that then. So let's go to our systems. Oh, we don't create them in there. Where do we create systems? I can't remember. Where do it? Systems. Here we go. Systems. So let's create something that's an autopilot thing. Now, copy you. Start there. So we'll have a system which is update autopilot. With a elapsed time, and we want to pull out everything which is an autopilot, because all we know there is that anything that's got an autopilot probably also has a position. At least that's something we should try and check for. Let me just bang this into the header file so we get rid of some of these errors. System, there we go. And if I'm coming across as a little bit lethargic and slow tonight, I am a bit tired today. But I thought it was important, to actually just let you know I'm doing all right, and we're all doing good as a family, and that appreciate the support. I've had loads of messages of well wishes, and it's been fantastic. So it was important. I felt that I actually got back to the community that have supported me for so long. And say thank you very much, actually. Right, what was I doing? I was creating a system. Why has it put me here? What did I click on that put me here? I want to go to systems. There we go. I'm not calling it orbit. It's going to be pilot. Now, we did also talk at some point that we might be fun to manually take control of a ship to go exploring the universe too. We'll have a look at that as well at some point. So bullets aren't physical objects, but just a hit scan. Well, bullets aren't, but missiles are. And from a video making point of view, I think it's important to differentiate between the two and why you would solve them separately. Was I sick? No, I was not sick. I have, since the last stream, I have become a father. So I've been a bit busy. Right. Right, okay, we're not updating orbit at all. What are we doing in this autopilot thing? So we want to get something about that. We don't even know what these are doing. What have we got here? Oh, we'll just start. I'm going to keep that there just so I've got the syntax ready to hand. We might need that. Thank you, Sergeant Smiley. A lot of stuff goes over the top of my head. I've been playing around with learning C++ on Linux, especially with CSGO cheats. The hack versus hack stuff is interesting. Anti-aim. Well, I mean, that's not a world I know very much about, I'll be honest. And certainly on the Discord server, when people have started to talk about those things, we don't discourage it, but we do sort of encourage them to talk amongst themselves rather than actually open in public. I'm always a little bit unsure that I don't want people going, oh, hey, look, you can go to the One Lone Coder server and learn how to hack this and cheat that. So we're just a bit conscious about it. Do you have a place where I could perhaps request a YouTube video? We do. So on the Discord server, we have a dedicated panel where you can click on and you just put in your suggestions or criticisms or comments. In fact, there's a few on there which now. So somebody's just asked maybe a video on voxel space algorithms. That was creepy. I presume is that the same creepy? Yeah, maybe. People often argue on there about whether what I've done a video about is sensible or not, but try and keep it to just the ideas. Thank you, Alex. Yes, there's a link to the Discord if you haven't joined already. Updating autopilot. So all we know that we've got here is a starting position and an ending position. So I guess we kind of want to grab those, don't we? Well, do we actually care about the starting position? All we do is care about the destination. So let's grab that, which is going to, I don't know what the type's going to be. It's a position, and it's going to be pilot dot root stage. Okay, it's coming back to me now what we actually need to do here. What was in our autopilot component? I can't remember. Autopilot component had the root stage in. When we get the root stage, we then want to get the point. So we've got this is kind of what I feel like. It's getting a bit kind of messy, having to sort of link things through with so many different levels. So, for example, I can get the root stage like that, and then from the root stage, I want to get sort of the destination position. Which is stcomps, and it was a position. That's actually the wrong type, that isn't it? That should be root stage. We get the position from our root stage dot e.2, which is I'm going to assume is a destination. Oh, hang on, a few more chats. Oh, there you go, Creepy. Yeah, I see you found it. It was amazing everybody used their own paste. I have no idea what that means. Yikes. No easy way to tell types. No, you see, that's the thing. Right? That's the difficult thing with the entity component system is you sort of throw all of your type information out of the window. The compiler's not bad at trying to find these things, but certainly IntelliSense just goes, nah, can't be bothered. So once we've got a destination, we want to update the actual position of the object with an autopilot to slowly gravitate towards this destination. I am using MSVC compiler, yeah. Well, the IntelliSense, it's not bad. I mean, it did actually, you know, it is pointing things out that's accurate enough. But it's because these are just entities. So it's not that the compiler is failing. It's the nature of the entity component system. This is just an entity. Even though I know that this destination pos, for example, has a property. Oh dear, hang on. What have I selected the whole thing? So if I take that and go dot, I know that it's got this property which is vpos, which is a OLC vector type. Right, so it's the nature of the ECS which is causing the problem, not necessarily the compiler. Yeah, exactly, Danderstein. Yeah, that's it can't sort of understand how the composition has been structured. Right, so once I've got a destination position, the plan is to just sort of move our autopiloted object towards that destination. So it should always try and follow that destination. Now, this is where I think things are going to get a bit interesting. We're probably going to run out of time today to flesh it out in detail. So right now what I'll just do is we will create a vector of our current position, which is so OLC VD2D. Right, so V direction is going to be our E destination pos minus our current pos and we'll normalize that for now. Oh, you might be able to hear Javid X10 there. So once I've got that normalized direction vector, I'm just going to move my ship along at an arbitrary speed, and these are properties that we've not got any sort of definition for yet. So I will set my pos. Can hear Javid X10 in the background there. I'll have to close the door. I've got it open just in case they need me, you see. So, but we're getting towards the end of the stream anyway now. That's Mrs. Javid X9. Well, there you go. If you wanted some proof that she exists, then there you go. Actually, I can. There you go. If you wanted some proof that she existed. Where's my coding window? So, got a direction. What we're updating now is the actual position of our autopiloted object by this direction multiplied by some speed. I have no idea what this speed's going to be. So I'm going to pick a high number. And I'm going to multiply that by elapsed time. I'm sorry I just paused there because I'm thinking ahead of a problem that this is going to cause. The problem is it doesn't know when to stop. So at the moment, it's just sort of going to go whoof and shoot straight after all the time and probably end up automatically oscillating around the target that it's aiming for. Thank you, Dragoneye. I'll pass on those messages. Is this going to be the pursuer algorithm? I think it's going to be, yes. Yeah, she's going to need to get some hair. Is this going to be... oh, sorry. Maybe stop once the distance becomes short enough. Yeah, I mean the stop criteria. This is really just a hack to see does the entity component system allow us to do the things that we want to do. I think the actual nature of the autopilot is going to be more sophisticated. So we'd want, for example, the craft to have a ramp up and a ramp down. You want them. Well, I want them when they get to a space station to perhaps go into a holding pattern if there's nowhere to dock for that time. So it's actually a little bit more sophisticated. But right now, I just wanted to see if I could just draw something that sort of follows one of those routes and just see what happens. So we're basically abusing the component system to handle this for us. So I need one more system, which is to draw anything that's considered to be a spaceship. So let's do that. So let's go to our main. And we have do we have some render? Yes, we do. We have some render things. So we're going to render spaceships. Render spaceships. We'll just add you. There we go. So what did we say was a spaceship? It's going to have a position, and it's going to be a spaceship. So they're the two sort of components that we're interested in pulling out. Let's do that. Spaceship. So we need a closing bracket on there. Oh, I clicked on something I shouldn't have. Completely lost. There we go. We're back. It's okay. Don't panic, anybody. Spaceships. Ship. So that's going to pull out every entity in our entire system that has a position component and is considered a spaceship. So we're just going to draw at that point. We're just going to draw... what are we going to draw? We'll just draw a small rectangle, I think, just to create this, to make it simple. So we'll have TV dot draw. What is it? Draw? Is it fill? Fill rect decal. There we go. Just to be as a little marker, so that's going to be pos.vpos in our transform space. Our size, we'll draw it always the same. Oh, that's going to scale things, isn't it? Let's, I'm picking numbers at random here, but we'll try 100 by 100 just to see what happens if we get that far, because the next thing we need to do is actually create the spaceship itself. Any collision detection? No. So one of the things I've deliberately avoided with all of this is the need to do any form of collision detection. Everything can go on top of everything else. There's no collisions required at all, other than collisions with the mouse cursor and the things in the background. The space thing type... sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. The space thing type doesn't bother me. The ST prefix... is a static method call? No, not always. It depends on the namespace. First time catching a stream. Well, we're almost done actually. In fact, we're probably getting close to the end. I just want to see if we can get this to finish. So render spaceships is going to be something we're going to be calling, and we'll just draw the spaceships in every single state as well, else we might not see very much. So on top of the root, we'll call spaceships, because I still need to make it so we've added the spaceship in as well, which we've not done yet. So we'll have you and you. Anywhere else we're drawing stuff, there we go. Space station edit, why not? I'll have it in you. Now, where is the where we're placing the root? Place orbital marker. Where did we create a new root? That's just the rendering state machine, isn't it? The actual here we go. This is the camera state machine, and here we have the actual game state machine. Okay. So that was it. So when we've got something that's a space station that's selected, and we press R, select destination. That's the state that I want to follow. State is select destination. Where is select destination? Because it's on the selection of the destination. There we go. Is where we want to create our new ship object. And this is where it's going to be a bit of a hack. So I'm going to create spaceship. And the root stage I'm going to pass in is the one that's just been created. So I'm just going to hack that like that. Oh dear, somebody's having a meltdown down there. How did you do the mouse picking? Where I check for the mouse coordinates, I just make sure it's within a radius of the object. It's as simple as that, really. It doesn't need to do the square root because I can use the mag squared approach. Let's have a look. Where do we do selecting objects? So if the component has a selectable, it's tested against the mouse position, and it can select sort of multiple things under the mouse at any one time. Right, so where we're at, I have no idea what's going to happen. I've put loads of hard-coded numbers in. Don't know if things are going to move. Don't know just don't know. Probably not going to work, and be a disappointing end to the first comeback stream after a significant event. So Now we'll take a look. It's compiled. So I was just reading one of the chats there and got lost. Right, so let's select a planet. Should have disabled this GUI, shouldn't I? Let's place a planet selected. Place a space station. Let's place another space station on a similar path. Right, so it's just a reasonably straight line. And from there, if I select a new route, which is R, and select that one, it's done the route. But I don't know if it's, or it's done it and it's done it really quickly. I don't know if it's drawn the ship. Or is my 100 by 100 far too big, too small? Don't know. As I say, it might be a bit of a disappointing end. Let's slow down the speed of the ship. In fact, let's set the speed to 0. Just so we make sure we actually understand what's going on here. That should be because the ships don't have a starting position, do they? That's part of the problem. So we need to, when we create the ship, it needs to be given a starting position. The starting position was probably the center of the universe. We can verify that. Let's just run that now. So we'll do exactly the same. We'll just have a quick look over the sun and see if that's where it's drawing the ship, because I don't think the ship knows where it should be beginning. So let's just find a planet. There we go. That'll do. Let's add a couple of space stations. 1, 2. I'll click on you. Right. So now has it put? Yes, so there we are. You might not be able to see on stream, but there's a massive white rectangle in the middle of the sun. That's the actual spaceship that's been created, but it's not got the correct starting location. It's also really huge. But now if I specify a speed for that, let's pick a really big speed. Now we're going to end up sort of in interesting territory of floating point accuracy here, but we'll see what happens. And we should see it move from the center of the sun towards the target. One would hope, anyway. Let's have a look. So I'll put in a couple of things, and we'll select U, route all the way to U up there. And now we can deselect, and let's go over to here. I think it is moving, just very slowly. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe. Maybe. If we take out the elapsed time, so this is now going to be like silly fast. Yeah, a bit difficult to see at the moment. I fully appreciate that, but that's what we're doing. We're hacking things together. Let's so spaceship, so space station. Now I'll pick a route to you. Oh, I'm not calling the system, am I? I'm not actually at any point updating the updating the thing. Let's go to main. I need to actually run the simulation. Forgot the critical bit of the puzzle there. So at the start here, we've got everything where we want to update our systems. So it's being put in the right location. It's just update autopilot. There we go. That would help. I'm going to put the elapsed time back in then before we continue, because systems, well, things might just start to get a little bit strange. Let's slow you back down, and it's rendering it still as a big white rectangle. That's okay. Right, last go. If it doesn't work today, then that's enough anyway. Space station, and we'll route to you. Here it comes. So from an ECS point of view, that's doing what it should be doing. Now, see how it's steering, so it's always wanting to go towards the destination, the big white rectangle of doom. There we go. And it's found it. Now, this is this little oscillation I was telling you about, that between frames it can't ever settle. And we'll probably have to look at that in the next episode. It's the Borg. Run away, it's the Borg. Right, that's all for today. Thank you those who have joined in. I know it's been a couple of weeks. Hopefully we'll be back to some sort of normality. I do need to update the stream schedule if I'm not going to be streaming. I know some of you just sort of sit there hoping, and some of you sit there hoping that I don't. So I will leave it at that. So thank you very much, and I'll upload the video to YouTube tomorrow. I can't do that today. So until then, take care. I'll see you later. Bye.